My name is Erlin, and I'm 35 years old. I used to work at the same company as my husband, but a few years ago, at my husband's request, I became a full-time housewife. Our family consists of me, my husband, our son, and my mother-in-law, making it 4 of us. About a year ago, when my father-in-law passed away, my mother-in-law started living with us. My relationship with my husband is good, and he is a great father who plays with our children on weekends. However, that was the story before living with my mother-in-law. Ever since my husband started living with her, he has completely changed as if he were a different person. His work seems unchanged, but he no longer helps with house chores, which he used to do before, and the amount of time he spends playing with the children on weekends gradually decreased. I want to go to the park. Daddy is tired from work, so go to the park with Mommy. He says he is tired, but he plays games at home. Where did my previous husband go? Both my son and I were perplexed by my husband's sudden change. One day, by chance, I discovered the cause. I went out for shopping but realized I had forgotten my wallet, so I hurried back home. Then I heard my mother-in-law's voice from the living room. You are the breadwinner of the family, so you don't have to do anything. Just let your wife handle it. What? What did she just say? I stopped in front of the living room, frozen in place. Did she say he doesn't have to do anything as the breadwinner? Let your wife handle it? It seemed like my mother-in-law was filling my husband's ears with various things behind my back. I felt anger welling up inside me, almost revealing myself in front of my husband and my mother-in-law, but I held back and observed their actions from a hidden spot. I could see my husband nodding, seemingly agreeing with my mother-in-law's words. Oh, I see. So this is what's going on. My husband has blindly accepted my mother-in-law's word and started behaving that way. Feeling that things couldn't go on like this, I tried to have a discussion with my husband. However, he completely refused to listen to my words. Realizing that it was getting nowhere, I decided to have a direct talk with my mother-in-law instead. Mother-in-law, can I talk to you for a moment? Erlin, what's the matter? Could you please refrain from interfering in our family matter? Ever since you started talking about various things, my husband's behavior has become strange. Are you blaming me because you're not getting attention? I was just offering advice for the sake of you all. There was no hint of remorse in my mother-in-law's response. On top of that, she even went as far as to tell my husband, "It seems like your wife hates me," and she verbally attacked me, making no sense at all. Upon hearing this, my husband shouted at me, "How dare you say such things to a mother who cares so much about us? Apologize to her." "No, that's not it. Please listen to what I have to say." "Shut up. Until you apologize to my mother, I won't talk to you." At the moment, a vague thought crossed my mind. Maybe I can't continue living with this person. However, I couldn't bring myself to divorce him when I thought about my son, so I kept telling myself, I just need to endure it, and continue to gauge the moods of my husband and my mother-in-law every day. One holiday, I took my son to the park. Before he left, I called out to my husband, "Hey, we are going to the park. Are you coming too?" "The park? No, I'm going shopping with my mom." It was the expected response, but I wondered how my son felt about it. However, it seemed that my son didn't expect his father to come along from the beginning, as he ran toward the entrance without even looking at his father. "Mom, let's go quickly." I tightly held my son's hands in return and left the house. It was a day off, and the park was filled with many children playing. As I watched my son run toward the sandbox, I noticed a couple sitting on the bench next to me. They were engrossed in conversation, seeming happy together while keeping an eye on their child. Seeing them, I remembered the times when my husband and I were like that and became a bit sentimental. However, at the moment, my son's cry suddenly reached my ears, bringing me back to reality. I hurriedly rushed to the sandbox, where it seemed that he had gotten into a fight with another boy over a toy. The boy's parents also approached. It was the same couple from before. Amidst the others' watchful eyes, it seems that the children have resolved their issue and agreed to take turns with the toys. As I about to return to the bench where I had been sitting earlier, I made eye contact with the boy's mother. Reflexively, we nodded at each other and simultaneously exclaimed, "Oh!" To my surprise, the boy's mother turned out to be my former senior colleague from the company I used to work for. It took me a moment to recognize her, as we had been close enough for her to be invited to my wedding. I never expected to reunite in such a way, and a sense of nostalgia and joy welled up inside me. It seemed that my colleague felt the same way, and naturally, we started chatting with my husband joining the conversation. The conversation paused, and my former colleague's husband asked the question, "Is your husband working today?" "Oh, well, I couldn't answer the question immediately. I hurriedly tried to dodge the question. "My husband is out shopping with my mother-in-law." "He's a familiar husband, isn't he?" He received it with a smile, but my former colleague stared at me intensely. "Yeah, well..." That was all I could manage to say. Seeing my predicament, my former colleague took out her wallet from her bag. "Hey, there's a vending machine over there. Could you buy drinks for the kids with this?" "Sure, I'll go. I'll get some for everyone too. What would you like, Aline?" Oh no, Thanks, but you don't need to carry so much. Just the drinks for the kids will be fine." With a smile, my former colleague sent her husband up, and then turned to me with a serious expression. "Hey, I'm just wondering, are things not going well with your husband?" Ha ha! Was it that obvious on my face? She was a close colleague from the past. Thinking it would be pointless to hide it, I awkwardly replied, and my former colleague nodded with a wry smile. "Aline, you've always been easy to read, and there's something bothering me too. I actually saw someone who looked like your husband earlier with another woman. I happen to know that person too, so I think it was him." I was dumbfounded by my colleague's words. Was my husband meeting another woman? And he even lied about going shopping with my mother-in-law? My mind went blank. Without even saying proper goodbyes, I promised my colleague that I would contact her later and returned home. I felt like I needed to confirm this as soon as possible. I told my son to wait outside the house and quietly opened the front door. Confirming that only my mother-in-law's shoes were in the entrance, I closed the door gently. I called my husband, making sure my son couldn't hear. The phone rang multiple times. It felt like an eternity, but I patiently waited, and finally my husband answered. Hello? I could hear my husband's voice and the department store announcement through the phone. Our son wants to play more. Is it okay to let him play a bit longer? Or should we meet up somewhere and have lunch together? I inquired innocently, pretending not to know anything. My husband's response sounded a bit stern. No, let our son play a little longer. My mother and I will have lunch here. I see. Then I'll let him play longer. Say hello to my mother-in-law for me. Yeah, okay. My husband seemed relieved and was about to hang up when, in the moment, I briefly heard a woman's voice calling my husband's name. Before I could say anything, the call was disconnected, but now I was certain. My husband was with another woman right now. Yes, not only did he neglect his family, but he was also cheating. Despite my mind going blank with anger toward my husband, I pretended to be calm so that my son wouldn't notice and entered a nearby family restaurant. After finishing our lunch and returning home, as expected, my husband hadn't come back yet. I acted as if I didn't know anything and spoke to my mother-in-law. Huh? Are you the only one here, mother-in-law? Where's my husband? I got tired from working, so I came home first. I asked my son to take care of the rest of the shopping. I see. Once I was out of my mother-in-law's sight, I observed her from a hidden spot. She had a relieved expression and seemed to distractedly using her smartphone. She was probably contacting my husband. Both of them such worthless people. My feelings toward my husband and even towards my mother-in-law were filled only with anger. It was astonishing how my emotions toward them had become so cold at the moment. They didn't do any household chores, didn't bother to play with our son properly, and to top it up, my husband was cheating with my mother-in-law's help. Lately, my husband has been coming home later, claiming that he's busy with work. When he does return, he visibly displays his exhaustion, and my mother-in-law offers him words of consolation. Watching them both with disdain, I find it pointless to say anything. They probably don't even realize I'm aware of their behavior. Perhaps they think of me as an oblivious wife. My mother-in-law has become audacious enough to make sarcastic remarks. What a terrible wife you are, not showing any concerns for your exhausted husband. She even goes as far as spouting nonsense like, while our son is away, I'm being exploited by my daughter-in-law. And my husband, not to be outdone, joins in and betrays me. You are such a spiteful wife. I never thought you were capable of this. I shouldn't have married you. I was deceived. Deceived? That's my line. I want to retort with those words. I've thought it many times, but each time I suppress the urge and remain silent, ignoring whatever my mother-in-law and husband say. My indifferent attitude seemed to irritate them even more, leading to their verbal abuse escalating. They've even started hurling insults in front of our son. At the moment when I thought, I can't take it anymore, let's settle this, my son unexpectedly took action. I hate the mean grandma who's mean to mommy. I hate daddy too. My husband and mother-in-law were left dumbfounded by our usually quiet son's words, but quickly regaining their composure, they turned red with anger. This child has been brainwashed by Eileen. taking advantage of a child in a sense. How despicable, Aline. You've filled our son's head with insults about me and my mother, haven't you? What a person you are. If you don't change your attitude, it's divorce. Leave. Divorce? That's what I was about to say. I can't live with you two anymore, as you only have a negative influence on our son. I'll gladly part ways. You leave the house immediately, and you can discuss the rest through lawyers. Are you serious? Yes, and by the way, I have evidence of your infidelity. Please make sure you pay child support properly. What are you saying? Cheating? The other day, I ran into a former colleague from my previous workplace. They mentioned seeing you with another woman. It seems to be a topic of gossip at the company. I hope you can continue working as usual. I know that your mother was involved as well. I had nothing to do with it. It's all our son's doing. Mom, why are you saying that now? Ignoring the prostrate pair, I continue. Also, I've already submitted recordings of the verbal abuse you and your mother spewed over the past 2 years to my lawyer. As I unleash all the pent-up frustration, both my husband and mother-in-law's red face turn pale, and they fall silent. Ignoring my speechless husband, I gather the belongings I had prepared for this day and leave for my parents' house with my son. My biggest concern was my son, but when I explained to him that we'll be living separately from his father and grandmother from now on, he understands without resistance. It seemed like he had noticed how disliked I was by my husband and mother-in-law. As long as mommy is here, it's fine, even without daddy and grandma. Saying that, my son embraces me, and I hold him tightly with all my strength. It was because of these words that I could overcome the hardships that followed. I went through a lot of things and ended up getting rehired at my former workplace. My husband and the other woman work in the same company, albeit in different departments. So, honestly, when I heard about the job offer from my senior, I was planning to decline. However, not only did my senior reach out to me, but my former boss also contacted me directly. Your ex-husband and the other woman couldn't bear the gossip anymore and resigned. Arlene, you're capable of your work, and there are many voices within the department hoping for your return. If you're okay with it, why not come back? I was torn, but I decided to choose the path of working as a regular employee, considering the future for the sake of my son. I don't know what happened to my ex-husband and the other woman after they became unemployed. I have no interest in what happened to my mother-in-law either. However, my ex-husband and mother-in-law contacted me for a while. The content ranged from hoping for reconciliation to threatening me with consequences if I didn't respond. It was all nonsense, and I truly believe it was the right decision to cut ties with these two. I didn't want any further involvement with them, so I decided not to respond to their messages and left everything to my lawyer. My son and I are now enjoying days filled with smile. I'll strive to make this choice the best for me and my son in the future.